This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. For years, we have been telling you that a mighty power will attack the United States of America, Great Britain, and the State of Israel at approximately the same time. And we also find in the pages of the Bible that those nations will be totally unprepared when the strike happens. The Bible says that the trumpet will sound and nobody will go out to fight. They won't be ready militarily, and they also won't be ready because of internal fighting. Focusing first on the United States, Abraham Lincoln said in 1838, "At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of freemen, we must live through all time or die by suicide." Now, how does the State of the Union look like? Some have called it the State of the Disunion. GPA, which is the German press agency, wrote on February 8. In a State of the Union address, U.S. President Joe Biden attacked Republicans and at the same time called on his political opponents to work together for the good of the country. The new majorities make it even more difficult for Biden's government to implement legislative projects. Parts of both parties are hateful towards each other. Biden managed to provoke his political opponents in his speech, especially on the subject of Social Security and health insurance. His claim that some Republicans wanted to phase out benefits, popular with many older Americans, drew angry heckling. Politico wrote on February 8, "The State of the Union rarely previews big battles in Congress. Tuesday night's row between President Joe Biden and GOP lawmakers may prove to be an exception, foreshadowing a long 2 years to come under divided government." Some feel all of this is a prelude to civil war. Is this possible? We will not deny that possibility. Now, what about Great Britain? Some claim that in a major conflict, the British Army would last for just one afternoon. Daily Star wrote on February 3, "General Sir Richard Barrons, former Joint Forces chief, says years of government neglect have left Britain's military ill-equipped for a major conflict." His words echo a warning from the Royal United Services Institute in December that said Britain's ammunition stockpiles were woefully deficient and that in any serious armed conflict, the army would run out of ammunition in a week. Sir Richard adds, "We have a war in Europe, and our armed forces are smaller and less ready to fight than at any time in living memory." The Sun added on February 2, "Unless we restore our defenses, all our hopes for all our lives will rely on our friends protecting us and our enemies leaving us alone. Unless our ministers take bold steps now, our security is lost." And again, sadly, it is indeed. Even Britain's friends will ultimately become their enemies. Yes, even America and Britain will be at odds. They will not be united. Now let's look at Israel. Is it at the brink of civil war? Israel Today wrote on February 7, "An opposition lawmaker on Tuesday used the Knesset podium to urge citizens of the nation to civil unrest against what he called the dictatorship of the new Netanyahu government. Ofer Kasif was quickly removed by Knesset ushers, but his act of public incitement further fueled fears that Israel is inching closer to civil war. Israel was rocked last week when prominent figures in the anti-government movement began openly calling for armed violence, and some even encouraged the assassination of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This incitement followed weeks of mass demonstrations against the government, which were themselves sparked by calls for civil disobedience from opposition leaders Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz. All it takes is for one deranged individual to take up the call to assassinate Netanyahu. If that were to happen, there is no telling how the other side might respond, but given the hostility that has grown between the two sides in recent decades, and the fact that a plurality of voters are ardent supporters of Netanyahu himself, some even view him as king, the end result would be catastrophic for the Jewish state. And that is in addition to the fact that Israel will be left alone without any help from any so-called allies. Now, who is this major power which will attack the United States, Great Britain, and Israel at approximately the same time when they are totally unprepared for such an attack? It is not Russia or China. Our booklet, The Great Tribulation and the Day of the Lord, gives you the answers. Please ask for a free copy today. Until next time, this is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.